Welcome everybody to Super Geek Squad Podcast, episode 3. Glad to have you back. And Colten, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Was sick last week. Spent the whole weekend dying. Thought that was my last day on Earth. You know, spent it as anybody should, watching YouTube.
Yep.
But I made it, so now it's the world's problem.
Yeah, exactly. We just got over influenza in our household too. It was a nightmare. Like, everything hurts. You just don't want to do anything but lay around.
Yep.
And I'm glad it's gone because it sucks.
Yep.
So, what else have you been up to lately?
I've just been following my normal schedule pretty much now. I work. I've got my D&D that I set up for. I got my multiple groups that I army roleplay with on the internet.
Oh my god.
Not saying I'm a big deal, but I've only been there a couple weeks and I'm already, in charge of a squad, so,
Oh,
and
geez.
send people to their death. Make sure I make it out, but...
So you like the dude, Full Metal Jacket? You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like screaming at people. Like...
No, I'm usually pretty calm in that stuff, and we're like, always throwing jokes around in that, but, it's pretty cool, because, the group that they gave me, it's a Star Wars thing, but so I won't throw around specific names because this isn't like stuff like like Anakin and stuff. Like, this is like real in-depth nerd stuff.
Right.
But I've got like the only like elite squad in the whole group of like 60 people.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's only a couple of us. So we get to go around, and it's just a situation where, like, obviously if the top dogs of command need something, we do that,
Right.
but otherwise it's like we do what I want us to do. Like, if we're like, yeah, that shit looks like it sucks down there, we're leaving.
Yeah.
It sucks to be you down there, but we're
Yeah.
gone.
So you're just really pussy.
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody, like, pisses me off or whatever, like, before we start our mission or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna not try to help that guy. If he's in a tough situation, it looks like he's dead.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we, a few days ago, we decided to go and do some fishing, and 'cause it was like 60 degrees here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is about fishing. Like, you can be having the worst day, you could be stressed out to the max, and like as soon as you catch a fish, it's like it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun. We actually did. Actually ended up catching like 4 or 5 northerns, a walleye.
Oh, wow.
It was a good day. I was really surprised for this time of March that they're already biting. Because the river is starting to open up and everything. So it was a lot of fun to get out and do that. Yeah, which I needed it because I'm so sick of winter, so sick of being closed in.
Well, did you hear that? I don't know how true this is. Next weekend we're supposed to get snow again.
I know.
I'm so done. Like, I'm actually just gonna move. If I see snow, I'm packing up whatever I can fit in the car and I'm gone.
Yeah, no. But are you a Packers fan?
Not really. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Then why do you have a Packers lanyard?
Because that's the only one I have.
I mean, you gotta be pretty low to have a Packers lanyard. Just
Well,
saying.
here's the thing, okay? Growing up, when I first got into football, I was at my grandfather's all the time, and he was a diehard Packers fan.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was a Packers fan. And then when I came into my own, I was like, what if I picked a worse team? And so I picked the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then of course I picked the Cowboys like right around the time where Packers got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And then they go on and start getting to the playoffs every year, and they start winning some Super Bowls and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, here I am. Like, if I get 5 wins, I'm like, it could have been worse.
Yeah. Right. Have you been following the NFL free agency lately at all?
I know about like the big names and stuff like that, but I haven't like paid too much in depth of everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. I got some stuff here that I printed off. They got, let's see. Obviously everybody knows Kirk Cousins went to the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him $180 million. That's $45 million a year, and
Yeah.
I believe that's $100 million fully guaranteed.
Holy shit!
On a guy that just blew out his Achilles.
Well, I think part of it too is with him specifically. I think it's just attention, right? Because Cousins is becoming like a pretty like, spotlight individual in the NFL.
Right.
You can't have a conversation about the NFL with people without them, obviously it's the Kelsey brothers,
Right.
and then you still have people bring up Brady.
Yeah.
But Cousins is starting to get up there on that list. For active players, he's definitely really high up there on that list.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins, as a Vikings fan, Kirk Cousins, he's not a terrible quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He does have some flaws. Sometimes I think he holds the ball too long. Sometimes I think he decides to take a sack instead of just trying to dump it down to a running back or something like that. And sometimes his accuracy sucks, but I know it wasn't all his fault because Minnesota didn't have the best offensive line for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because a buddy of mine called me up. He goes, "I just want you to know the Falcons are winning the Super Bowl next year. And I'm going to put like $30 on them, like with all their odds, and we're going to win a bunch of money and go to Vegas, so you're welcome." I'm like, "You're an idiot." And he goes, "Seriously?" I was like, "No." I was like, who do they have?
Yeah, I was gonna say Falcons don't have there's a lot of times where teams will, they'll be doing kind of like middle of the pack or a little bit lower, but they do have that all-star player that if they got a couple other help people with them, they would do more. And again, I don't follow every single team as closely as I used to, but I don't think the Falcons have that person. It's like, damn, dude, if that guy got traded to a different team, he'd get a ring.
Yeah. I mean, because they got Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's pretty good. He's a tight end, whatever. And they did have a few good players last year, but to say, oh yeah, they're going.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, they haven't been in the mix since Matt Ryan was there.
Yeah.
And all them guys are gone.
Yep.
I just had to laugh. I was like, whatever. Like everybody, everybody just okay, the Falcons have one of the best offensive lines in the league. I will say that. I mean, they have a pretty good line. But you ain't got nobody to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
What does that matter?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and of course the Vikings got Sam Darnold.
Yep.
A lot of people sit there and criticize, well, why would you go get him? Well, if you look at Sam Darnold, he was drafted, I believe, by the Jets. Okay, and then he ended up dealing with some health issues, stuff like that. So he ended up getting traded to, believe it was the Panthers. Well, at that time, Panthers didn't have crap either. I mean, they didn't even hardly have a team. I mean, they were terrible. So how do you expect a guy to come in there and do something when you have nothing?
Yeah.
And then he goes to San Francisco, thinks he might get a chance. Well, then, Garoppolo goes down, other guys go down. He gets hurt, and then, Purdy comes in, and he really never got to show what he has.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm looking at it as okay, we know Sam Darnold can throw the ball. I mean, he's got a really nice spiral. I mean, he's a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He may not be like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins caliber. Why do you need that? If you have wide receivers that are open and you got the protection, I don't care if you have 50-year-old Brett Favre. You can throw the ball. You're going to complete passes.
Well, Brett Favre's a different case. He's a legend.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, this age, But I'm just in my opinion, it's okay. You spend less money on a decent quarterback that's basically just sitting on his butt the last 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's decent, or else he wouldn't even be in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, so you save money there. You all of a sudden you start going and getting these linebackers and beefing up your defense. You got one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. Okay, and now you made a trade with Houston to get 2 first-round picks. Okay, so what if you just take those first-round picks, don't go after a QB, and you draft a good offensive lineman or defensive player, and then another wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how this season is going to go for Minnesota. I call it, if we do crappy, we get another good draft pick, and we got to wait until next year, whatever. Vikings fans are used to that. We always say, well, there's next year. So, I mean, I'm kind of okay with it, and there's been people oh, they might trade Jefferson. Whatever. Go ahead. I mean, it's we traded Diggs, and we got four draft picks for him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we ended up getting Jefferson and all them other good guys we got. So it's we already got 2 first-round picks, so go ahead and trade Jefferson. We get 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
Watch out, because you can really beef up an offense just like that, So, I mean,
the thing with that then is, you have to wait a couple seasons because everybody's still going to be pretty young and a little bit inexperienced in that stuff. But you look down like 3, maybe at most 4 years down, then you have a really scary team. If all of them stay healthy, stay on the team, and just keep improving, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look back, Aaron Rodgers when he was with the Packers, okay, they go to the NFC Championship. I believe their whole offensive line was rookies.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
and then pretty young team.
And then they go the next year back to back. It's like, okay, you get guys that can play and do what they're supposed to. I mean, it's sky's the limit.
Yeah.
I mean, being a Vikings fan sucks, and we don't have a championship and all that, but geez, being a Packers fan, when you make it to the NFC title game 2 years in a row and you choke. That's why, because why you got a Packers lady? You're seriously?
No, it's okay. As a Cowboys fan, every year is the same. I got a couple buddies that are Cowboys fans, and we start the season, we're like, we're not even going to watch the games. We know what's going to happen. Then all of a sudden we're like, wait, we're 5-0. Holy shit, this is our year. We are back.
Yeah.
Then we lose against one of the top seed teams, and it's like, okay, we've had an easy schedule. It's whatever. We were lacking. We got this. Then we lose 5 more games. Goddamn Cowboys! Every single year they always do this shit.
Yeah.
They drag you in, and then they just go lose.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me ask you your opinion then. Do you think it's Dak Prescott, or do you think it's something else?
I don't like Dak, but I don't think it's him. I think there's other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of... I don't like to be the type of person that blames the coach too terribly much, because the coach always takes the fall for everything, even when it's clearly not their fault. They'll always try to take the hit for it.
Well, and he's the play caller.
Yeah,
right
but
now,
I think that the coaching staff has a little bit to do with it, because how they go about a lot of stuff is just why are you have such an easy way that you can go do this, and you pick the most complicated ass backwards thing. And
right. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, yes, Dak Prescott to me, no. He's another, I hate to say it, he's another Kirk Cousins or Tony Romo, where, you can get there to the playoffs, but then you just can't perform.
Well, and I think you can't even say really that he's a bad quarterback, because I think him and CeeDee Lamb were the best quarterback-receiver duo in the league, so...
Yeah, I mean, he is good, but when the pressure's on, it seems Now, granted, I'll say this. I mean, the wide receivers did drop quite a few balls in that playoff game, and the defensive coordinator, he just got out-coached.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest problems in Dallas, and I know people are not going to like this, Jerry Jones should not be the GM. He needs to hire another GM to handle that part of it and just be an owner. Because obviously... it's football, whatever. We obviously know that. But obviously, the last 5 seasons, you've had a Super Bowl caliber team, and you can't get it done.
And we're lucky if we have a positive record.
Yeah.
And the division is, so weak, too. Obviously, the Eagles have a good season here and there, too. And I guess the recent years, they've, been a little bit better. But... I mean, shit, when the Cowboys have been making it into the playoffs sometimes, and their record is 9-7, that division is so weak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. You obviously seen the Cowboys lost Tony Pollard, right? And I believe they lost a lineman and a couple other key players, too. I'm going to have to look that up here in a second. But Jerry Jones, it just seems like either he don't want to pay his guys, he has too many stars, maybe he can't afford them, I don't know, or he just, to me it just seems like he treats players like crap. If you look at Des Bryant and Marco Murray, great duo, okay? That was good. That was a good year, okay?
We had Miles Austin, we had DeMarcus Ware even, oh my god.
Yeah, you guys, next thing you know...
They're all gone.
Yeah, free agency comes up, I don't want to pay him.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, you lucked out, you got Dak and Zeke. Okay? And then I think you guys had like Amari Cooper and stuff like that for receivers at that time.
I think might have, yeah.
Yeah. So and you were good that year too. Well, what happened again?
Mm-hmm.
Then you come up, free agency. Bye, Zeke. See you later. Bye. I don't even think Cooper's there anymore. I think he's gone.
I don't think so.
And
we got Lamb, so.
yeah, and then you guys ended up drafting Lamb, and then you guys got Tony Pollard, and here we are again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many times do you think you're gonna luck out? Like you're gonna have to pay these guys sometime, because I mean, yeah, your defense was pretty solid, and yeah, they can get you the ball, but if your offense can't do crap with it, what are you gonna do?
And the weird thing is too is I don't understand why money is like such a obviously money is a factor, but
right.
for the Cowboys it should be the least, because they are like when it comes to monetary income and stuff, they are the most well set off team in the entire NFL.
Yeah,
like they are. I know that people joke and say the Patriots and that stuff, but there's a reason why the Cowboys are quote unquote America's team.
Yeah,
because everybody or the majority of people in America like this team. They buy merch from them. They have the most income of any other team. Where are we putting that? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
And Dallas is always known for offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have one of the top offensive lines overseas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I am not a Cowboys fan. I do not like the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
But I do respect the legacy of the Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of like Minnesota was in the same boat there for like 3 or 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. Especially the year I think we had like 12, 13 wins. Mm-hmm. Then we get the NFC title game, we choke against the Eagles. But there was another thing too, like we had a GM that didn't want to spend the money and pay people to stay and make moves and do stuff you do to build your team. So I just and sometimes I get some of these guys are overpaid. I really do, because of their attitudes and stuff. But here's it took a friend of mine kind of explain this to me, because he played for D1 college, and like there was possibility of the draft, but he ended up hurting his back, so he just stopped playing football. Mm-hmm. But he just told me, he said, you gotta remember, a lot of these guys come from nothing.
Yeah.
He said, and it isn't the simple fact that they just want all this money, they can show their money off and take care of their family and all this. He says, you gotta understand one thing too, though. When you're in a sports division where it's full contact, when you get hurt and you can't play, only so much of that is covered by franchise. Mm-hmm. A lot of that's on you.
Yeah. And
when you're done playing, you get a little bit, obviously, for retiring and whatever. But who pays your expenses? Who pays your medical bills? Who, keeps covering all that? Mm-hmm. So, in a way, you go have an ACL done, I bet you it's over $1 million, just to friggin' fix your ACL and do all the rehab and everything,
And the thing too, you got to keep in mind, like, I know people say like, oh, sports athletes are overpaid in that, and there's one argument that like, when you first hear it, you're like, okay, I get what you're saying, but then when you really think about it, people like compare like, oh, football players shouldn't get paid as much as this field, or as much as nurses, or as much as teachers, or whatever, and it's like, okay, I get it, that makes sense, but you're still going, you're the reason why. You're the one that's buying the tickets when they're overpriced. You're the one that's buying every single jersey. You're the one that's buying a hat every single couple weeks. You're the one that's buying, you got to have your pajama pants, you got to have your special flag, all this stuff. You're the one that's pumping all this money in. That's why they get paid so much, is because you look at it and you're like, oh, Kirk Cousins is getting paid, what, 190 or 80
million?
180 million in that stuff, and it's like, okay, 180 million in the NFL, that is a raindrop. That is nothing, because there's so much money flying through it, because everybody is there's no other sport like it where people are putting like that much money. Like, I know like basketball and that stuff, obviously, people buy a lot of stuff, but you don't see as many people like going around and wearing like a LeBron jersey or something like that. You see the Favre, you see the Brady, you see the Rodgers, you see people wearing that stuff in public all the time. every single person that's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan just goes out in public in their pajamas.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what that's about.
Because they don't care. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, what do you think about the Russell Wilson signing?
I think it's interesting. I don't know about Wilson yet. I don't know if he's like. I don't know. Part of me is like, I don't know. He's kind of done for. Like, maybe he stopped. But then another part of me is like, I mean, maybe if he has like, maybe he just needs like a certain team and he can, come back again. Huh?
Yeah. Do you know what he got for signing with them? He ended up getting $1.2 million contract for 1 year.
Holy shit.
Yeah. That's what he ended up getting. Which, where do you lose?
Yeah.
You know what the Broncos had to pay him? Still almost had to pay him $80 million. Just even after they cut him, I think it was close to $80 million or something. Yeah.
Have they do you know if they said anything about Purdy, like how much he's making this year now? Because he was $3 million for this season, and he got to the Super Bowl. And I know people say like, "Oh, Purdy's so bad" and that stuff or whatever. And it's like, this guy was end of the draft. This guy was like for the first half of the season they called him Mr. Nobody or Mr. Irrelevant or whatever it was. And he goes and does this, and I get it, he's got some dangerous weapons on his team, but still, if you're in his shoes, you're making $3 million. Nobody expected that from that guy. No. And people still shit on him because he lost to Kansas City Chiefs, the best team in the league. I hate that team. But I mean, he still is so good, and he's so young, and has so many years and that stuff that I don't understand why people are throwing so much shade at him. He doesn't deserve it at all.
Yeah, like this year it says he'll make $985,000 with a $19,252 signing bonus. And then 2025 it's $1.1 million. And then 26 he'd be undrafted free agent.
They're not going to give him anything more. Oh my, I can't.
Well, he's still on his rookie deal. So
I suppose,
if here's how it's going to go. He's got 2 years left on his contract. So I bet you here's how it's going to go. He's going to play this year. If they do good this year, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, okay, pay me.
Yeah.
And if they don't, okay, well, then he can either ask for a trade or he'll either play out his rookie deal and say, okay, now I want this much. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get it, he's going to go to
There's a lot of teams that will pay him a lot of money.
There's teams right now, I bet you have called San Francisco about trading.
Probably, yeah.
And he will. He'll get paid. And you imagine if that kid wins the Super Bowl in the next 2 years?
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances of drafting someone like that and have him be that good? The last person was Tom Brady.
I was going to say, there's two people.
Yeah. So I was just, but, back to the Russell Wilson thing, Denver, I think Denver kind of did him dirty. I get Wilson has kind of a piss-poor attitude sometimes, but Denver, they had okay wide receivers and stuff and a whole okay team, but they were not set up to go win a championship.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, you needed at least 3 or 4 seasons to even build your team to see what Wilson could really do for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, you bring in Sean Payton. I'm sorry, Sean Payton was a good coach, but he has a piss-poor attitude too. Mm-hmm. Well, when you put 2 people together like that, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
So obviously, me and Sean Payton, you're not going to listen to me. You're not going to do what I want. You're not going to be here. Whatever. Imagine how crappy Sean Payton will look if the Steelers are in the AFC Championship next season.
Mm-hmm.
Because they put things around him because the Steelers were in the mix. They didn't have the best record. They were in the mix in the playoffs last year. Mm-hmm. To get there or whatever. So they're closer than Denver.
Yeah.
So, so I look at it like, he can be good. I mean, you guys got to look at where he came from. He had Lockett, and he had Metcalf. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you go to Denver, Who do they got again? You know, I think they had a couple guys. I can't remember their names. You know, I mean,
the legacy of Tebow.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm really interested to see where that goes. And then, you know, another big one was the Vikings getting Aaron Jones. I thought that was funny because the day I seen that the Packers released him, which was really crazy to me because, yeah, he was hurt for a little bit last season, but when he came back, he was like a beast. Like, you could not stop him. I think one game he got like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know, and I was sitting at Applebee's with my old boss. He's a huge Packers fan, and I showed him and said, Packers released Aaron Jones. He goes, oh, what the heck? And I said, I bet you by tomorrow it'll say he's going to the Vikings.
Probably. The
And
Vikings.
that's what happened.
The Vikings pick up anything the Packers drop for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, other, like, 2 duo teams that do that. Like, Vikings are just got them on speed dial.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. But, you know, I wonder about, you know, Austin Eckler for the Chargers. Big time running back. Now he went to the Commanders. Did he go there to just kill his career? Or, like, nothing against Commanders, but they haven't really been much the last couple of seasons.
They haven't been playing football the last 20 years.
No. So, and I heard they're changing their game again. So, you know, it is what it is. And then you got, let's see, a few other key guys. Oh, where'd he go? Zero lineman. But I want to go over, another thing I want to go over is who's still available. Okay? So you got, right at the top of the list, you got safety Justin Simmons from the Broncos. Very good player. He's still out there. Tyron Smith, Cowboys offensive tackle. Still there.
Yeah, we'll grab him again.
Yeah, you hope. Mike Williams, he isn't bad, but Mike Williams is kind of getting up there in age too. You know, I don't know all that. But Chase Young was with Niners last year. He's a free agent still. Yeah. Stephon Gilmore, Jadeveon Clowney. What's Dallas doing?
We're waiting for our moment.
Yeah, Quandre Diggs, you know, safety. Julian Blackman, safety. Xavier Howard, corner. And Minnesota needs to get out there about and do something too. I mean, we could use probably 1 or 2 more good corners and safeties. But I mean, there's so many big names. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, Jamal Adams. Dobbins, his only problem was injuries. Before he got injured, he was like one of the top backs in the league. You know, so whoever gets him, they get him. Even if they get him cheap, he stays healthy. Wild. It's getting crazy. You know, I mean, Odell Beckham. Okay, dude. Odell. I get that you can still play.
It's time to retire.
Yeah, like I think it's time to hang it up. Like, I mean, you did good. You won a ring with the Rams. You got what you needed. But man, like you torn both ACLs. Like, yeah, you're still a threat, but
he's been through it.
Yeah, it's just like I know.
There's only a few players that aren't quarterbacks that can like really push it past their prime, and even then still look pretty good.
Yeah.
And one of them, I have to bring it up because anytime we talk about football, I have to bring up the greatest player of all time, Larry Fitzgerald. I fucking love that guy. He was so great. Now he's a player. You put him on a good team, oh, he's winning the Super Bowl every year.
Are you talking like greatest player of all time, attitude wise? Are you talking
everything?
Everything? Okay, hold on here. Okay. I love Larry.
I don't care about stats.
Okay, I love Larry Fitzgerald. Yes, he's, I'd say, one of the greats of all time. Come on. No, come on now. But I got to give him his props for being dedicated to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's hard to find someone just wants to stay there their whole career.
Mm-hmm.
And, being a guy that had ties to the Vikings when he was younger. I really, he's one of the players I wished would have just switched for a season or two to go play with
just to see you.
Brady or somebody to get a ring. Just get a ring because he deserved it.
Because you know damn well too that any of those like really top tier quarterbacks, like if they had the opportunity to take him, they would have pushed for it. Like they would have been like, I want this guy because this guy's like. He's still single-handedly winning games against teams like, obviously when you go up against, like, the top-tier teams when he did go up against them, you need more than just a receiver, You have to have a quarterback that can help. You have to have defense and so on and so forth.
Right.
But he's still making plays that are, he's getting double or triple guarded and that stuff, and he's still making catches and stuff like that, and you don't see that all the time, but, he was just... It was his like flaw was that he, like you said, he just wanted to be with the one team and show his loyalty to him, and I wish,
it was just like Barry Sanders. I wish that guy could have got a ring, like Calvin Johnson. There's so many people. I get you want to be loyal, or like Calvin Johnson quit because his body just hurt so bad, and. I don't know Larry Fitzgerald how his health was. I don't think he got injured very often.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, and I know the Vikings reached out to him when he did decide to leave Arizona. They did reach out to him about trying to get him on a 1-year deal or something, and he just didn't want to. And I don't know if he's just content with being done or what. I mean, he was good though. He's one of the greats, obviously, but attitude wise. Couldn't ask for a better person.
No.
I mean, he had the best attitude. Granted, he did get to play in one Super Bowl with Warner, and damn it, I wish they would have won because I thought they were really going to win. That game against the Steelers. That was a wild, wild game. But yeah, man, I don't know if he could still play. I don't even know how old he is now. I know he's in his 40s. I don't think he probably can. But of course, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors either. I mean, was he dealing with pain and all that too, and just had enough? Or, you look at Aaron Donald that just retired for the Rams. 10 years. That dude is still jacked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, don't tell me you don't have 5 more years left in you. I know you got 5 more years left in you. It's just but of course I don't know. You'd have to talk to Aaron Donald, but. Is it okay, I got 10 good years in, I was one of the top defensive players in the league, I was Pro Bowl every year, I was pretty much there, won a ring, what more do I got to chase?
Yeah.
So, I mean, teams are still going to try to get him to come out in retirement.
Well, I wish, as weird as it sounds, I wish more players would do that, because there are so many of these players that, they actually just ruin their lives because they play way past when they should. They get injured and they suffer really bad injuries, and the whole thing with the concussions and the brain and stuff like that from playing and getting hit around so much that I wish these players would they need to start ending on good notes instead of pulling whatever the hell Brett Favre pulled and whatever trend he started. And going in and switching 3 different teams, and I don't know what happened there. It was a midlife crisis.
Yeah. Well, that's, they went a long way with changing the helmets. Their helmets now, most of the time they can get hit really pretty hard, and it doesn't, obviously you might still get knocked out or whatever, but it's went way down for the concussion symptoms and stuff. Everyone, they still check them, obviously, but there ain't as many of you here having brain problems, stuff like that. Because they're really starting to get on top of this, and the head-to-head hits and all that stuff. They need to implement that in high school and college too. Even though they do a little bit, but even high school, I've seen some high school games that were pretty brutal. Even my boy alone, he got what was it? His freshman year, I think he ended up getting a concussion at 2 games left of the season. Got knocked out, got up, and didn't think anything was wrong, kept playing. Then he says afterwards, I got a headache. Well, dude, if you get knocked out, you need to tell your coach. And that's a problem a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
If you don't like, especially in high school, if you don't tell the coach, how do they know?
Yeah.
They don't know you got knocked out, you know, unless you're laying there for like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. But, yeah, like the safety thing, like my nephew told me in South Dakota, the school they play for, like, they barely have been putting any money towards safety equipment for their football team. I said, well, a lot of that's on your coach and your AD. Like, someone should be pushing, doing it. Like the coach here where we live, he does all kinds of fundraisers and charity things and all that to get money to help him get new shoulder pads, new helmets every year for his team to make sure they're trying to be as safe as possible and with the right equipment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, safety obviously you can never stop making that better. Another wide receiver that's still free agent, Tyler Boyd for the Bengals. I think that would be a good one if Minnesota got rid of Jefferson. Like, trade him, go get Tyler Boyd. I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, we just drafted Jordan Addison last year, and he did pretty damn good, you know. So, and then, of course, you have Micah Hyde, Donovan Smith, and then Michael Thomas for the Saints. Thomas is getting up there, too, you know. So, I mean, that's just a few key free agents. But, like, you know, I like how everybody says, like, oh, yeah, send Jefferson to Cincinnati so you can play with Chase and Burrow, his former quarterback from college, and his teammate, Jamar Chase, receiver from college. You know, yeah, we'll definitely win one, too. He's like, oh, really? Because Jamar was hurt last year. Yeah. Jefferson was hurt last year. And Burrow was out all season.
Yeah.
They can't do crap if you don't stay healthy.
Yep.
You know, so... No, free agency's been kind of crazy, and, you know, I don't think... I mean, a lot of these guys that are still there probably will get signed, but after the draft, that's when you're really going to... I think this is going to be an exciting draft this year, because there's so much what-ifs.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm real excited to see where that goes. But, so, new Ghostbusters movie comes out, I think, next week. Are you going to go see that?
I might, actually.
Like, wouldn't that be funny if you wore, like, your Star Wars onesie to the Ghostbusters movie?
My Darth Vader onesies.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. See if it's in the cards.
I might go. I don't know yet. Did you watch the Oscars?
No. I saw highlights of it, and it's... Yeah.
Did you see John Cena?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
I was like... I mean, it was hilarious. Don't get me wrong, you know, but I was just like... What?
Yeah, there was... I don't know. The Oscars and stuff like that, I don't like watching it because I feel like... I mean, pretty much all of it is like... It's just a weird thing to watch for me because the last couple of them have been so strange.
Yeah.
Such weird stuff happening. People are like... It's just a bunch of grown-ups that are treated like toddlers and acting like toddlers.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know... It's just becoming, like, over the top, so that way it stays relevant.
Yeah.
And I just...
Although, you know, being superhero fans like us, I don't know if you've seen it where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito came up to present an award, and they're standing up there together, and they're like, well, you know why they brought us back, you know, together? And he goes, you know, oh, because, you know, we were both villains, you know, Batman. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah, who were you? Oh, I was Mr. Freeze. He goes, yeah, I was the Penguin. He goes, oh, how did he get you? And he goes, oh, you know, the only weakness I had, he goes, oh, fire or heat? He goes, no, love. Oh, yeah. He goes, well, that bastard threw me out a window, you know? And he goes, yeah, he goes, that son of a bitch. He goes, and they look down, Michael Keaton's right in the front, and he just gives him, like, the bring it. Like, I'm like, yeah, you tell him, Keaton. I don't care. He was one of the best Batmans of all time. Yeah. I don't care. It was hilarious. I don't know if you've seen a new Flash movie.
Wait, is that the one where they brought back Michael Keaton? Like, that's what we're talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yep, and Clooney.
Yep.
So, that pissed me off when they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
That made me mad.
There was... The thing I hate about superhero movies now is that movie was pretty terrible. But they threw in a lot of the OGs and that stuff because they were like, come on, we know you like these guys.
Yeah,
come on.
yeah.
Forget about how bad the rest of the film was.
Yeah.
But look, we got Keaton. And
Yeah.
it's like, they almost got me.
Yeah.
But I thought about it and I was like, this movie fucking sucked.
Yeah, then they throw Clooney in there.
Yeah, then they're like, we know the movie sucked.
Yeah.
But look who's driving this car. And it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, you almost pulled that one on me too.
There was good parts too.
There was.
Yeah.
The story was. I like the Flashpoint story. I hate Ezra Miller. The guy that plays the Flash. That guy is an actual psychopath that is getting away with committing like heinous crimes because of his. I mean, he's kidnapping people. Like he's kidnapping underage women and hiding them in his basement and telling people that he's doing it, and they're finding the kids in the basement because the kids are missing, and he's getting away with it because it's like, oh, he's so funny. No, this guy's an actual like. He's a real life villain.
Yeah,
You have to stop him. He's going to Hawaii and he's just finding people that are wearing the wrong colors that he don't like, and he's starting fights with women.
Really?
Yeah. He went to Hawaii and he just started beating up this chick. Just
What
because
the
she was
heck?
like walking down the street, and he's like, I don't like how she's walking. And he just started attacking her.
Oh my god.
And he got away with it too. And I'm like, dude, like, somebody please stop this guy. Like, he's an actual lunatic.
Where'd you see this at?
This was a couple years ago now.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like after the Justice League movie came out. So it was between the Flashpoint and the Justice League movie. Like all the he's kidnapping. Yeah. I think it was actually like a 14-year-old girl from North Dakota, if I remember correctly. It was North Dakota or Minnesota that he kidnapped and kept her for like a couple months, I guess. And
really?
then he went to Hawaii and he got thrown in jail because he started beating up people on the street. And then he just got let out like the same night or whatever because like, oh my god, that's a celebrity and that stuff. We can't hold him, And he just goes and does all this like wild, crazy shit. And I'm like, why are they still hiring him? First off, he's not even that good of a Flash.
Right, yeah.
He's not that great of an actor. You have the TV show, Barry Allen, that I think would be such a... I'm not saying that he's the best actor ever, but he would be 100 times better. There's a reason why the Flash already has like 9 seasons, because people like him.
Yeah.
And then you throw this guy out there and it's like, dude, get this psychopath away from the public.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of having a series. You use the same guy in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Duh.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's... Like, in a way, it kind of sucked they kept changing Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, in my opinion, the last movie, what was it, Far From Home, I believe?
Something like that.
Where they had all 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. And now I think they're making another one with, what was it, the first guy, what was his name? Toby, yeah.
Toby.
Yeah. I think they're making another one with him. I don't know if the other guys will be in it.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not sure.
But, yeah, I mean, it's... sometimes I really wonder about these superhero movies, like where they're going, and I was gonna print off a big thing about what movies gross, but we'll do that on another show because there's a lot that goes into that. But I don't know, like Barbie was pissed that she didn't get Film of the Year. Oppenheimer got it. Have you watched Oppenheimer?
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
Yeah,
I will agree with them though. Like movies nowadays are getting too damn long. Like, they're good. They're good. Don't get me wrong. But Avatar was 3 hours.
Yeah, and that movie was dog. That was one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
And did you know it's still ranked number 3 all time?
Yeah.
For grossing money?
I don't know.
And the first one's still number 1?
Whoever actually enjoys the Avatar movies, and I mean this with full offense, there's something wrong with you. Those movies are so bad. I don't know why... I don't know how people can watch them. They're so terrible.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought they were cool. I'm not a huge Avatar fan, but the first one I thought was okay.
First one's better. First one's better than the second one by a long shot.
The second one, though, I almost got up and left the theater.
Yeah, it was so bad.
like, I sat there for a good hour and a half, almost 2 hours until the action started.
Yeah.
I was just like, then when the action started, I was like, oh, okay.
And it was so lame.
Yeah, and it was just like, geez, like, And I looked at my phone, I was like, holy shit, I've been here almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I don't know, man. They got to start making these movies a little shorter or something, or just say, like, our max is 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. I think if you have, like a really, really big thing going on, like, if you have, like, a franchise, so, like, I guess, like, Marvel would be a good example, you know? Infinity War and Endgame, that was basically, like, a part 1 and a part 2. Yeah, they had to do that because the movies were already so long.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you consider that all one thing, then that's a long movie. And that, you know, they didn't want to make people sit through it that freaking long, so, like, it makes sense. But, you know, if you have something like that where they've been working for 20 years to build this name up of these characters and then put them together in, like, a grand finale, that can be longer. Okay, I get that. But when you have something like Avatar where, again, I don't know who's paying to see this movie. I think the first one did so well because it was, like, such a unique thing.
Right.
But the second one, I don't know how it grossed so much. Like, there's no, I can't find anybody that goes around and talks about Avatar Avatar the Airbender, people talk about that. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, DC, people talk about that. Nobody talks about the Blue People Avatar. No, I don't know anybody that does. So I don't know where they're getting all this money and all these views and these high counts from, because it's not from anybody I know.
Right, yeah. I mean, so I think it grossed like 2.3 or 2.4 billion. I might be wrong, off a little bit on that, but
probably though.
I was just like, and I think the first one was like 2.9.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was just like, I don't know either. Like, I mean, I can't figure it out. I mean, it was it worth the money going to see it? Okay, whatever. You know, but I mean, I don't know if I'll buy it on DVD.
No,
you know,
I
mean, so yeah, you look like the Fast and Furious saga.
Oh my god, I don't even want to. I don't have the time to talk about that crap.
like it just like I thought this was gonna be the last movie. And they go, no, part 1. I'm like, shit.
I thought it was the last movie 9 years ago.
Yeah. I was like, after Paul Walker, I mean, I know Paul Walker said he wanted to do 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But after he passed, you kind of like had him riding off into the sunset, you know, good, yeah, great. Why keep going?
And it really took a wild turn after that, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the Transformers. Like,
well, the Transformers are cool, though.
Well, they are, but the first, like, couple movies was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you know, once Shia LaBeouf left, I thought it kind of went downhill.
Yeah, I think so, too.
You know, everybody's like, well, you could never bring him back. I'm like, why can't you? Mm-hmm. Why can't you? I mean, you could. Have you seen the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're trying to incorporate G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Which...
I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, it was in the comics, you know, it does make sense, you know. So, I was, yeah, but boy, they have made, I think, I don't know, too many.
Yeah. Well, the issue is that if you look at a lot of stuff, like let's say you look at Batman, there's a lot of Batman movies. Yeah. But it's a different universe, you know, right? Yeah. A different creator and that stuff. And they're doing that with Transformers. But the reason why it's being perceived as, you know, a poorly done thing or too many movies is because there's no gap in between, right? Like, they're coming one after another pretty rapidly. And this is like, if I remember correctly, the one that just happened, the Beasts or whatever it's called, I can't remember, and then the one before that, Bumblebee, those two are part of a new, like, quote-unquote franchise universe, whatever. But I think that's the third one now in, like, 10 years.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been happening fast, because I think I don't know if the Mark Wahlberg ones, if those were considered, I think those ones might have been considered with the ones with Shia LaBeouf, actually, so maybe this is only the second one. But the first one had, like, 6 or 7 movies.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong with it being the third one, now that I think about it.
Yeah, because Wahlberg, let's see, I think it was Cena that came in on the third one or fourth one, and Wahlberg together. Were they both in there, or were they separate?
I don't even remember.
I have to go back and watch them, but yeah, I don't know. They're getting kind of. Shia LaBeouf, I don't know. He just had this comedy about him when he did that, you know.
Yeah.
Like the first one, I don't care. Is still one of my favorites.
Yeah,
you know?
they're good.
You know, it's just, especially with Bernie Mac. You know, oh, that's my mammy over there. Oh, I had a rock, I'll bust your head. You know, it's just crazy. You know, and like, you know, it just pulls up to Megan Fox. I wonder if I could ride you home. I mean, give you a ride home. I can see you talking to a chick like that. Oh man.
I was going to change the topic because we're getting kind of towards the end, but I wanted to bring this up about something very strange that happened to me.
Okay.
So I work in a senior center. I work with a lot of old people, and one of the people that come in, they like to do line dancing.
Right.
He goes around town and that stuff, and he goes to one of the bars in town, and he goes like every other week, and he just started doing it again after taking a wild break. But he wants to try to teach people line dancing because like that's like his like gimmick, right? That's what he likes.
Yep.
And we started letting him do it at the senior center every other Friday. Comes down and he teaches, and because it's line dancing is an older thing.
Right.
And when you're at a senior center, not many seniors are line dancing because it's not too easy.
It's more two-step.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. And then you don't have young people coming in because it's line dancing.
Yeah, right.
So, it'll be him, his wife, myself, and sometimes I can get one or two of the other employees. And every once in a while, we'll have one other person, right? So it's always a small group.
Right.
But his thing that he does on Thursdays, where he goes to the bar, he always asks me to go. Now, I stay very busy. I have a full-time job. I have 2 other jobs that are both classified as part-time. They're like 10 to 12 hours a week.
Right.
And then I have my hobbies and stuff like that. And then when I don't have any of that, that doesn't include any of the time for doing chores or errands or anything like that.
Sure.
I like to have my free time. And it turns out
Colten's happy time.
Yeah, where I can sit down and not care about anything. 9 times out of 10, those couple hours of free time that I have are on Thursdays. So it conflicts with it. And I don't want to spend, I already go to his one every Friday.
Right.
I don't also want to go to the ones on Thursday because I don't like line dancing at all. I don't like dancing either. But I'm just doing it to try to be nice to him.
I was going to say, try it so he has extra people to kind of show.
But I feel like I go to half of them, and it's something that I really don't like doing at all.
Right.
I feel like that is, not that I'm trying to do it to be like, oh, look at me, I'm such a nice guy. But I'm just trying to do it to be nice.
Right.
Well, I didn't go this last Thursday. Last week I got sick. I had the flu. I was around my mom, and my mom got sick.
You're right.
And so she was sick all of this week, and it got to the point where Wednesday and Thursday, it was pretty tough for her to get out of bed. So she asked me to come and help with some stuff, and I did some cleaning, and I made her food and stuff like that. And when I got done with that Thursday night, I looked, and it was about 8 o'clock. He starts at 6.
Yep.
And I'm like, it was like 7:48, I think, to be exact. And I'm like, well, it's already been 2 hours. Time I get there, if anything, there's no way that they go for more than a half hour once I get there. Right. So I'm going home. Friday rolls around, yesterday, he comes and he asks me, well, what's your excuse for being gone? And kind of came at me with like a real negative attitude.
What the heck?
And I'm like,
who are you?
I was like, my mom was sick. Was she really? Yeah, he was. And he like started arguing with me. And a different senior came over, and he's like, don't talk to him like that. He can line dance for the rest of his goddamn life if he wants to, but his mom's not going to be around for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So if he wants to go spend time with his mom, he could spend time with his mom.
Yeah.
And he got real mad. He went and he found my mom's number. He asked around until he was able to find somebody, because it's a small town, everybody knows everybody.
Right.
He was able to get her number, called her, and asked if I was lying.
Oh my God.
When I see him on Monday, I'm fucking laying into him. I don't care if it's an old man. That is crossing such a weird boundary.
Yeah.
And I spent all of Friday sitting there thinking to myself, and I'm like, who does that? That is so weird.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I'm not line dancing anymore.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, what the heck? That is not your job description.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's like, I'm 26 years old.
Yeah.
Even if I was lying,
you
don't get to go call my mom.
No. And if I was your mother, I'd have been like, F off, dude.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, that's none of your business.
So weird.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude.
So
he works there, or he's a resident?
He's not a resident. Most of the people that come into the senior center, because I teach like an exercise class, and I have like a tech class, and we serve lunch and all these other things and that stuff. And most of all the classes that I teach for whatever, or activities or games that I do, are all free. So a lot of people from around town, just come down because it's something to do.
Yeah.
And so that is like what he does. He lives in town. He doesn't live at the senior center, But him and his wife, they come in and that stuff, and they're, you know, around for a lot of the stuff. And they do help out with a lot of stuff, you know, if there are, like, extra things going on that, you know, we don't have enough hands to do or whatever, they'll volunteer. So, like, they are nice people for the most part, but this was so weird.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know what in the world, I guess.
So he just volunteers then, pretty much.
Yeah, kind of, like, I guess that's the closest thing. He doesn't volunteer. Yeah, a volunteer's got to be the closest thing to word it as.
This technically, you know, because he's not an employee there, I get that, okay. But technically, this is kind of like a violation of privacy, HIPAA type
it's
things.
Like a weird thing, kind of.
It's like he could literally get himself kicked out of there and he won't be able to come back.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, he's technically harassing an employee.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's... Jeez, man, that's...
Yeah, like...
Maybe he's got a thing for you. I don't know, maybe he just likes you.
I know that he, like, you know, he doesn't have... and I know, because people have told me before, you know, that, you know, he doesn't have a son or anything like that, so, like, people have said that, like, in a way, he kind of, like, views me as a son, I guess, because he does, you know, help me out with a lot of different things, you know, and he always, you know, comes there to talk to me and, you know, visit and stuff like that.
Right.
And, like, it's a weird thing, because, like, I'm not saying, like, I'm only doing it because it's, you know, my job to be there, you know, because, like, I genuinely do, like, if I can help people out and that stuff, especially seniors, you know, that are struggling with stuff, I'm gonna do it, you know, but there's a lot of stuff, you know, I take a lot of my own money to buy stuff, you know, for the center down there, you know, I donate a lot of money, and I do a lot of stuff outside of work, you know, to volunteer and help in that stuff just because I want to.
Yeah.
But I think for somebody to get that cranky with me because I do want to have some of my own free time also, I feel like that alone is uncalled for, but then you cross like an extra line when you decide to start trying to contact my family to see if I'm lying about stuff or see what I'm doing at that point in time.
Right.
It becomes like this weird thing.
Yeah. And when it comes to your job and your personal life, I mean, there's a boundary there.
Yeah.
You can't cross. It's like me. I just made a life-changing decision here last week. I was working for a company that's similar. You help, you know, handicapped individuals, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was hired, you know, we had talked about, okay, you know, we're going to give you, you know, probably going to give you pretty much close to full-time hours we can. You'll be part-time, but then our goal is to get you full-time down the road. And so, and granted, I had some stuff going. You know, I had some medical stuff I had to take care of, and I had a pipe break in my house. I had a vehicle get wrecked. I mean, it just one thing after another thing piled up. You know, so I had to miss a few days of work here and there and stuff. You know, and you know, we out of the blue they just pulled me in the office. We're like, we're gonna have a meeting. I'm like, okay, and they're like, okay, so we're not gonna give you full time. And I was like, why? Well, because of your attendance. And I was like, well, okay, hold on a minute. Now, you guys know a lot of this attendance was out of my control. I mean, medical stuff going on, vehicle gets wrecked, house pipe breaks. Like, you have to take some time off to get that stuff situated. You know, and then when you're a single parent like me, you got two boys too. You also got to run to school and all this. So, I mean, you try to balance and work around everything. And I just told him, I said, you know, because, you know, I ran that pawn shop for over 2.5 years. And I was a GM. And I told him, I said, you know, I took a pay cut coming here. I get where you guys are coming from, but you know I came here because I want to be here. I said, you know, when will you give me full time? They said, well, it could be another 3-4 months. You know, it's technically not in the budget, which I think was BS, but whatever. It took everything I had to not just start screaming at them. Yeah. Like, when a guy takes a pay cut because he thinks he's going to get what he was told he was going to get, granted, you know, the attendance thing or whatever, and then all of a sudden you just pull it out from under him. A single parent that has been struggling the last 4 months took a pay cut to come there because he wants to be there. Yeah. You know, and hoping all this will turn around, and then you just pull it out. I was pissed off.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
Like, and my supervisor at the time just kind of sat there really quiet, and I'm like, okay, I see what's going on. This guy from out of town that's your boss is basically telling you this is how it is. It isn't really you. He's just being a jerk. Yeah. You know, and I kind of felt like, and I'm not saying this, but I kind of felt like he kind of had it out for me, because when I first applied for full time, when they were first opening that place, he didn't give it to me. Mm-hmm. And then the person they hired ended up quitting a month later. Well, I was already running the pawn shop.
Yeah.
Well, then I went to work for him after the pawn shop closed. And, granted, I just went over all that. And all of a sudden, this same guy sits in this office with us and tells me, "Oh, no, we're not giving this to you. Mm-hmm. You need to do more." I'm like,
yeah,
dude, like, you're lucky I didn't punch you in the face. Like, I just said, you know what? I said, I'm going to look at other options. I said, I'm not saying that I'm going to just quit today, but I'm going to look at other options, because I could be making way more money with my GM experience somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you for your time, and I got up and walked out. And dude, I was raging. Mm-hmm. But I kept my cool, and one of the other staff was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you?" I was like, "Wow, your face is beat red." I said, "I'm kind of pissed off. My blood's boiling right now. I was told something when I got hired. Things have kind of changed a little bit, and so basically the last 4 months was a waste of time."
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, you don't have to. If things don't work out for you here, there's other things out there for you with your experience and everything. You'll find some better. No, one door closes, another one opens. Mm-hmm. Just try to relax. If you got to go walk outside, like, no, I only got a half hour left. I'll be fine." So I sat down. I played games with a couple of the clients, just and then the dude has the audacity to come out and goes, "Well, I don't understand what he's saying. Do you understand?" It's like, "Yeah, I do, but I ain't helping you. Why should I?" Yeah. And my point is, I really for a minute there thought he has some against the male staff, because he doesn't barely talk to me or the other male staff that works there. But the girls, he caters around them like he's just like their grandpa or somewhere. It's weird, dude. It's like every year he spoils them, takes them out to eat, whatever, which is fine. But you don't say 2 words to any of your male workers.
Do you remember when we met when we started working at Dunham's?
Yeah.
And they sent all the people from out of state or whatever to help us set up the store, and what I can't remember anybody's name, but there was the head honcho boss that came in, and when he came in, he brought those few girls from other stores and that stuff, and they sat there, they got paid, all they did was sit there and flirt the whole time, and he'd look at some of the other girls and that stuff, and he'd go over and talk to them or whatever. You got goofy ass looking Ron and me over there. I'm not going near that side of the store. No. I think we were 2 of the only guys too. Now that there was Mike though, the assistant.
Oh yeah.
He was the other guy too. He didn't like that guy.
No.
And I think we were the only guys that were there. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, because the only other males were high school kids or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did have. I can't remember his name. Chance or something like that, or Chase, I think maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Chase.
Yeah, I remember him too.
Yeah.
God, that guy was so clueless about everything going on around him. Holy shit, bro! You could put your hand out for a high five and he'd be like, "Are you trying to hit me?"
Yeah. Yeah,
oh,
I remember that dude. That one district manager just walked around flexes his muscles.
Yeah.
And all the other girls. It's like, dude, you're married with kids. What are you trying to do? And then there was the other. Was that one Demontre? Remember him?
Oh yes, that's right. Dude, did you hear what happened to him? Oh my god, this was 2 years ago now. He was and this was, just so you guys know, this was the coolest guy ever.
Yeah.
This is the type of guy that he was a college student, and he was walking through the store one day, and he was working in our our footwear department, and he walked up by me and he's like, "Colten, what the hell are you wearing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Those shoes are so old." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're still fine." This guy goes and buys a pair of shoes from the store and drops it off on my stand. And I'm like, "What is this?" He's like, "You got new shoes, man." And I'm like, "No, I'm not taking these." He's like, "Well, I'm throwing the receipt away and I'm not taking them back." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I gotta take them." There were some pretty nice shoes.
Yeah.
But I don't know the full story. All I heard is what was told to me. But a couple years ago, he was in the Walmart parking lot. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to back out, and there were people standing behind his vehicle, a group of 3 or 4 people or whatever, and he, trying to notion "Hey, I'm trying to back out, can you guys move?" And they wouldn't move, and he tried to back up again, and he got a little bit closer to him and that stuff, and one of the guys pounded like the back of his hood or whatever.
Oh, really?
And he got stuck his head out the window and looked behind. He's like, "Can you get the hell out of the way so I can move?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Ah, fuck you," and they dropped the N-word on him.
Really?
And he had a gun under his seat. And he waved his gun. He's like, "Get the hell out of my way now." And they left, and I'm like, it's a situation where it's like those guys were like so in the like both sides were in the wrong, right? But it's like, dude,
you can't just you can't just draw your pistol.
I mean,
like
he was
that,
he had a permit to carry, and
Right.
it was registered. But even then, still like, come on, man. And so I was even now I'm in a situation. I'm like, I don't want to side with them, but at the same time, like I get it, like. People won't get the hell out of your way, and you tell them to move, and they just start hitting your vehicle with stuff or whatever. Because apparently they hit it a few times, and one of them had something in his hand that he was smacking it with too. Yeah. So it's like, to a degree, depending on how you spin the story, like, okay, well, this side's right or that side's right, but I'm like, that's just such a stupid encounter, just overall.
Well, the main thing is them idiots were just being jerks.
Yeah.
They should have moved, and they just. That's where you get on the phone and you either call some buddies or call the law enforcement and say something bad's gonna end up happening here if someone don't get out here. I mean, it's I get it. It's did you know? Remember when he was strutting around saying he slept with that one chick from that blonde chick? I can't remember what store she worked at. He was like, "Yeah, we went to her hotel and hung out. And we like slept together." Remember that tall blonde chick? That
I think so. Yeah.
And he was strutting around like, "Yeah," and then and she's just like, "No, he just came over. We had drinks and visited and hung out." And I'm just like okay. But the way he's walking, like big man on canvas, and then I found out later. Was it like a couple of years later? I said, "Dude, you actually, sleep with her or whatever?" He's like, "Well, you gotta call me out, bro." And I'm like, I'm just wondering, because everybody wondered. He's like. No, I was just running my mouth. I was 17. I was a senior. What the heck, I figured, it was crazy. And that, I remember who the other kid was. Remember the day me and you were sitting there talking about, like, Pokemon or something. And he comes up and goes, "What are you doing with Colten's mom?" And we're like, "What? They didn't say nothing about Colten's mom." "Oh, your mom." "No." "What?" So there was no moms involved here. Like, no.
I remember this. I remember the conversation, but I don't remember who the hell that was.
Yeah, it's just like with it.
Yeah, this store was a disaster, man.
Oh,
we were setting up. We're sitting there, and we gotta like attach kayaks to the ceiling and that stuff to hang down.
Man.
And we're like, "Where's the ladder at?" And Ron and DeMarco just grab me by the ankles and hoist me up in the air, and I'm just standing there like we're doing a freaking cheerleader pyramid up there, and I'm attaching him with the rope, and the boss comes right. "What are you guys doing?" "Guys, put me down quick."
Yeah, that place was, oh man, like if we could have kept our regular crew and ran it the way it should have been ran, it would have been way better. But people just got sick of the BS. They just it was terrible. I mean, a lot of people just kept like after you left, I was there for a little while later, and then they gave me a raise to stay, and then they told me, basically me and Shelly got in a screaming match in the back of the store because they told me I couldn't move up for like a regular manager because of my schedule for my kids. I said, "Well, that's you're kind of discriminating on me for having children, and I have to have a certain schedule." She goes, "No, I'm not." And I'm like, "So you're telling me that there's other people at Dunham's all over the world that don't have children that have to have a certain schedule because they have to be a parent, but yet they can't move up because of it. You can't tell people that." And me and her went back and forth for like 30, 40 minutes. And finally I was just like, you know what, I'm done.
Well, that was like too, like when I first started, I was only getting like $7.50 an hour, but I was part-time, and it was like only a couple hours a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fine, because I'm just starting to stop my painting, and I'll pick up something, for the summer. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was easy work, too. I was with people that I got along with, so, it wasn't a lot of money, but, I really didn't have a lot that I had to worry about financially.
Yeah.
And then start getting the store set up, and that's where they asked both you and I, and they were like, "Do you guys want to be like our floor managers?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "So like full time?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It has a pay increase?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I want to say he said it was like 15 or 16. It was one of the two. I can't remember. And I was like, "Well, that's more than double what I." Okay, sure. What the hell? Why not? We're already managing the floor because nobody else is controlling all the clowns out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm like, "Okay, sure." And he's like, "It just takes a couple weeks for all the paperwork to go through." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, no big deal." And a month goes by, and I'm like, "So when are we supposed to get this pay increase and that stuff?" And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you. It's 2 more weeks." And I was like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah.
And another month goes by, and I go in there and I'm like, "What is happening with this? Why am I not getting a pay increase?"
Yeah.
Well, they just told me that it's not going to be able to happen. And I'm like, so I'm a floor manager, and we talked a little bit about what you made, but I was like, I don't know exactly how much Ron makes, but I know that he's got to make at least as much as what you told me I was going to make, because otherwise he would be gone because he has kids.
Yeah.
So I'm doing just as much as he is, and I'm getting paid less than half. You are hiring part-time cashiers that are making $2 more than me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's against the law to go talk to other people about how much you're making for wages, and I'm like, that's not a real thing. That's just what you tell people because you're scared for people to figure it out.
Yeah.
And Mike was in there too. And I'm just going back and forth, and he's like, "Well, it's just not something that we can do right now. We can look at it later down the road." And I was like, "I'm just gonna go work anywhere else then for more." And he's like, "So you're just gonna quit?" And I was like, "I'm gonna think about it." And I walk out, and as soon as I walk out, Mike followed me, and he grabbed me by the shoulder. He's like, "You should fucking quit. You don't need this shit."
Yeah.
I just walked out right then and there. I was like,
Yeah.
"Shit, if the assistant manager is like, they're treating you so poorly that if I was you, I would quit, I mean, that tells you something."
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was shortly after that they really wanted me to stick around, so they gave me like $1.50 raise, and then I basically had my same position, but it was more money, and like I was in charge of like the whole gun department and everything. Like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I sold a lot of guns, and nobody would work with anybody else but me that came in to buy one because nobody knew what they were talking about, you know. But it was fun to a point. I mean, especially that one day when we were like, we called you Balake, and I think we called Keanu J. Quellen, and I was Aaron, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. The setting up the store that summer was fun. Yeah. When it got to the fall, then the fun kind of went away.
It could have been great, but unfortunately we had to move on. It's like now, like I got an interview Monday to go work at a place that is gonna start me at what I was making at the pawn shop. So I'll basically be back financially where I need to be, but if I would have just went there 5 months ago, probably I would have been more way over, you know. So, but it is what it is. I mean, that's how things go, and you just gotta, you know, take it one day at a time and hope it all works out. But I'm gonna end it there. We're hoping to get this posted live soon, so when it does, if anybody wants to subscribe, comment, if there's something you want us to talk about on the podcast, let us know. And
not Star Trek, don't care.
Yeah, leave it up to Colten to stir the pot already. We'll see you next time.